What's up, guys? Welcome to session 13 of Linux Bash Scripting Intermediate Level. Today we're going to be talking briefly about functions. So in our last session we talked about examining and comparing files, reporting differences between files, comparing files of any format, displaying data in octal and hex, compressing data, and converting file formats. Today we're going to talk about writing functions, local and global variables, defining functions, and K-shell autoload functions. As a note, just like our previous two sessions, we're going to briefly describe and talk about the topics in this session, okay? So we covered these topics more in depth in the Intro to Bash Scripting course. As such, in this session, we go over them as a quick refresher. If you need more assistance with this session's topics, you can either take this course, the Intro to Bash Scripting, so you can follow this link and it'll take you to that course, or you can register for our tutoring sessions, which are located at the end of this course in session, as well as all of our other sessions, okay? So two ways to kind of catch up there before we dive into functions here as a quick refresher. Let's go ahead and get started with writing functions. The function reserved word defines shell functions. The shell reads and stores functions internally, and alias names are resolved when the function is read. The shell executes functions in the same manner as commands, with arguments passed as positional parameters. The corn shell or POSIX shell executes functions in the environment from which functions are invoked. All of the following are shared by the function and the invoking script, and side effects can be produced. So variable values and attributes, unless use typeset command within the function to declare a variable. Working directory, aliases, function definitions and attributes, special parameters, and open files. Let's go ahead and talk about local and global variables too, because these play an important role in our functions. The default scope of a variable is the whole script. However, when you declare a variable inside a function, the variable becomes local to the function that declares it. K-shell has dynamic scoping so that the variable is also accessible in functions that are invoked by the function that declares the variable. The main way of declaring a variable is with the typeset built in. It always makes a variable local. If you assign to a variable without having declared it with typeset, it's global. Note that you should use a local variable to override the value of IFS. Saving to another variable is not only clumsy, it's also brittle because it doesn't restore IFS properly if it was unset. Furthermore, you should turn off globbing, because otherwise, if the string contains shell globbing characters such as question mark, star, or splat, backslash, and square bracket, and one of the words happens to match one or more file on your system, it will be expanded. As an example, set-a and then string, where string is a star, will result in string containing the list of file names in the current directory. So let's go ahead and talk about how to define a function and write it. So first you want to go ahead and use that reserved word, which is function, and then you go ahead and name the function here. Okay, so we have our function name here. So we use the reserved word function, and then we go ahead and name the function, and then we open the body with a curly brace, okay? Now everything inside of here is the body of this function, and we can type whatever we want here, and it will be executed when the function is called. So we have an if statement here, so if this happens, so if variable 1 equals Tom, or if, in this case, if argument 1 equals Tom, echo 1 is a good chap, and we'll exit with a 0 value. Else, echo 1 is a bad chap, and we'll exit with an 8 value. Meaning when the script runs, if it runs successfully, we'll get a value of 0. Otherwise, if it doesn't run successfully, we'll get a value of 8. And then you end it with phi, and you close the body with this curly brace here, okay? Let's go ahead and talk about the K-shell autoload function before we close out our session today. So autoload informs the shell that the specified functions are undefined. It is a built-in alias of shell defined with alias autoload equals typeset -f and u. Okay, and we have single quotes on that. And thus, this is equivalent to functions -u. So in summary, guys, we talked about writing functions, returning value from functions, returning string output, local and global variables, defining functions, and K-shell autoload functions. Next session, we're going to talk about pipelines, command lists, and or lists, background jobs, command grouping, and I and O redirection. As I mentioned earlier, if you need a little bit more in-depth discussion about these topics, be sure to follow these links to check out the weekly and monthly plans available for private tutoring sessions for system administrator management, as well as the private tutoring sessions available for Linux Bash scripting. Thanks so much for joining me, guys. I am looking forward to seeing you in our next session.